It's tougher than I thought. When thinking about my dad, there are three words that keep flashing back in my mind over the past few days. The first is driven, meaning driven to succeed. My father had a goal of coming to this country from the Philippines to find a better life. He left pretty much his entire family in his homeland and was not even sure if he would return or when he would return. But he had that goal of coming to America for a better life. This was one of the many qualities and one of the many lessons that I learned from him, and it has shaped my life. He was also driven to beat this cancer. We don't talk about it that much as a family, but he was diagnosed with an aggressive brain cancer called glioblastoma just a few weeks ago. I'm a physician myself, and I admit I did not know much about this cancer other than it was a tough one to beat. However, my father was driven, as always, in hope that he would beat this cancer so he would be able to get back to his life, including playing golf with his church buddies and also traveling the world with my mother. The second word that keeps popping into my mind is the word servant, meaning servant leader or giving service. My father gave service to this community as a surgeon for over 30 years. I remember there were many times when he took me to the hospital with him on his hospital rounds. Even though I was very young, I remember the kindness that he showed other people and the kindness that he received from his patients and from the people that worked at the hospital. Just by watching him, when I was a child, I learned a lot of skills that I use today, both professionally and personally. My father was always a man of few words. However, he did have the gift of listening to his patients, listening to the people in the community, listening to his family. I also learned these skills like empathy and sympathy, skills I have used especially during his own recent illness. My father was also a servant leader of the Filipino community, which welcomed him 50 years ago. Officially, he was one of the first elected leaders of the Filipino-American Organization of Northeastern Ohio. In later years, he really grew into the role of an elder statesman in the Filipino community in Youngstown, still always attending Filipino meetings and parties. He was also a leader right here at St. Christine's Church. I remember seeing some conversations between my father and people like Dr. Kutaka and the church leaders at the time. One of his favorite groups was the Golf League, which he enjoyed every year and was able to grow many friendships through their fellowship in the church and through their love of the game of golf. I remember many stories of my dad and his golf buddies. The final word that keeps coming to my mind is simply the word love. I remember talking to my dad about coming to the United States. He loves this country so much that he went through the process of becoming a citizen of the United States, and I was either in grade school or high school at the time, but I remember both my mom and dad being very proud to become naturalized citizens of the United States. Following this, he would make trips to the Philippines, or he would go around the world traveling with mom, and he would always have a smile on his face going through customs, showing his United States passport. Also, when I think about love, I think about Dad's love of life. Even in my early impressions and memories of Dad, he would always be the life of the party at Filipino gatherings and events. It's been told that I have inherited my father's infectious laugh, which I also learned from those Filipino parties when everyone would gather together, tell stories, tell jokes, and there were a lot of them. My dad also loved to dance, whether it was showcasing traditional Filipino dancing or even the more popular dances with my mom, like the boogie woogie or even line dancing. My dad also had a love of karaoke, and I remember times when we as a family would get together and sing really bad karaoke, but it would bring a smile to my father's face. Which leads me to the last point, which is love of family, our family. Especially in the past few weeks where he had difficulty expressing himself because of the cancer, we were able to understand that he still loved his family and wanted to provide for this family, even though he was physically unable to fully express that. Even to the end, he was a provider for us, someone who watched over us. Now he watches over us from above. Thanksgiving is tomorrow, and Thanksgiving will never be the same for me. I'm thankful to God for the time he gave us with Dad. I love you, Dad, and I'll miss you.